Good morning and welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us this morning. If you're watching us live on Facebook, we do appreciate that. And if you are listening or watching us later, sorry, I got to get my microphone settled here. We do appreciate that as well. We upload these shows to www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. You can check them out there. We have audio and video versions for you to take a look at or take a listen at, I guess you can say. And of course, Facebook keeps these shows pervasive on our Facebook page. You can always go back there and check those out. Getting into your things today, want to actually real quick remind everybody and thank them for their patience. We are going to be moving into that new format next week, still waiting for a piece of equipment to come in. So do appreciate that patience as we sort of work towards that goal. But getting into your traffic this morning, there are some heavier delays at 4-H Club Road, River Road, and 190 this morning. Not too bad, but you are going to be facing a longer than normal delay there. Dunn and Lockhart, delays as well. Minor delays on 64 heading into Central. You got some on-ramp delays this morning as per usual, but I-12 is flowing, which is, of course, always preferable. It's currently 76 degrees. It's a warm one today, going to get up to 87. 70 degrees is tomorrow's overnight low. 40% chance of rain after 1 p.m., moving up to a 60% chance at about 5 p.m. So make sure if you haven't left yet to bring that, make sure if you haven't left yet, please be sure to bring that umbrella with you to work or a poncho or something like that, because there is a chance when you leave work, you're going to be walking through a little bit of rain, nothing crazy, but it is going to be a little wet out there. Couple of things, as we've talked about, we're kind of moving out of being dominated by coronavirus with the headlines. We're going to be moving back into some things. Still not in a rewind mode yet. Had a lot happen yesterday. Going to talk about that for a second. First, obviously, Cristobal is the name of the tropical depression. I mean, that's a very 2020 name, if you ask me. It's still sitting currently over the Yucatan Peninsula. It has formed into a named storm. It is expected, we here in Livingston Parish in the Baton Rouge area are expected to start feeling the effects of that sometime Sunday evening. Right now, the cone of uncertainty basically has it somewhere between the western edge of Mississippi and the eastern edge of Texas, which of course encompasses all of Louisiana. So this is very much a sort of a 2020 start to our hurricane season, which began Monday. It will be moving north. It's just a question of how strong it is when it gets here. Right now, they're predicting it'll be a tropical storm. It's still very early. Need to keep an eye on this, but no need to freak out at this time or get crazy about it. It's just, this is supposed to be a very active season. It's very good to keep your eye on it. It will, of course, develop. Please have a game plan. And the reason we bring that up, and it's something that the governor's brought up a lot, is during these disaster periods with coronavirus, with COVID-19, with social distancing, that sort of thing, disaster response looks a little different. And we need to be cognizant of that as we move forward. So please, please, please get a game plan, talk with your neighbors, talk with local officials, see what's going to happen as we get prepared for the first named storm landfall sometime in the next 5 days. So please keep that in mind. Please get a COVID-19 appropriate game plan. And a lot of that comes from some of the visits that Governor John Bel Edwards took to northern Louisiana after they had tornadoes. It's very interesting to see how people fight back against these disasters. So again, Cristobal coming, probably going to start seeing those effects Sunday. There was a peaceful march through Denham Springs yesterday. The gathering began at L.M. Lockhart Center. It's a Pards Park over there by where Albertsons used to be behind Tractor Supply in Denham Springs. It then moved on to Range Avenue and walked down to the shopping center there at I-12 where Canes is, took a break, and then came back up. There were no reports of incidents. Both the mayor and the police chief, as well as members of the police department, joined the march just to say hello. There's some pretty great photos of them. You can see it on our Facebook. We are having a little trouble with our website getting a gallery up. We're working with our web provider this morning, trying to figure out what happened with some of the photos. But we do have some posted on Facebook that you can always go check out. And I know a lot of people took other photos as well. We had some drone footage submitted that we're going to try to get up on our website so you can take a look at that too. There was about 150 to 200 members based on some estimates on the ground as well as that drone footage. So quite a decent crowd. It was very much a mixed race. So it was, and again, it was peaceful. And that's been a huge deal that's been pushed by local and state and federal officials just asking for peaceful protest. President Donald Trump has said that he will be rolling out military force. There's some complications there with that, but he has said that it's not out of the realm of possibility trying to squash these these protests that turned violent. He's trying to get a handle on that. There was a discussion with the governors on a Monday call. The governor, John Bel Edwards, said he wasn't going to talk about it. There is some reports coming out nationally. Feel free to check those out about his call. Getting into the Washington delegation, actually, last week there was an announcement came out that $40.6 million had been sent for flooded schools. Now, of course, we here at the news have been reporting that it's anywhere from 55 to 60 million would be the final tally for the Denham Springs Elementary and Southside mega campus. So this kind of caught a lot of people by surprise. We've talked with Superintendent Joe Murphy as well as Garrett Graves. And what this initial 40.6 million outlay is it covers those original worksheets for getting Denham Springs Elementary and Southside Junior High and Elementary back to pre-flood status. There are more worksheets that will be added in and more money will come. Right now, this is just sort of that first outlay, the first amount of money that's been agreed upon by Congress to be sent here. More will come in the future. We finally have a final tally. About 51 million, 51.5 million is going to come from FEMA, and another 7 is going to be coming from HUD. Now, if you remember, the schools had to participate with the HUD guidelines, and that is why Southside Junior High and Elementary, their mega campus, is going to be 9 feet off the ground, is because that gets them that last 10% cost share. So that out of that 57 million, 0 comes out of the school system. But it has taken a long time. Superintendent Joe Murphy appreciates the patience of the school teachers, the children, the parents, everybody that was involved in this process. But, one of the things the school system decided was they were going to try to do what was best for the long term in the school system. There was, of course, 2 other problems. One being that building those buildings back to pre-flood status would not have been possible because they did not meet code. Most of those buildings were very old. They did not have the current requirements were not in place. But according to FEMA guidelines, you have to build them back exactly the way they were. So the school board didn't really want to start getting in a fight with the parish and the city of Denham Springs to just try to build these buildings back the way they were. So they worked through this other process. Of course, the other problem was capacity. All 3 of those schools, while Jubin Park Junior High did pull some kids away from Southside Junior High, those schools were still relatively full. So trying to and there's still new houses being developed in all of those, districts that surround those 3 schools, or 2 now. So they were trying to increase capacity a little bit, which they did. Both schools are going to have an increase in square footage. I actually have that written down. Imagine that. Denham Springs Elementary will go from 55,000, roughly 56,000 square feet to 80,500 square feet. And the Southside Mega Campus will go from 148,000 square feet combined to 184,000 square feet combined. So quite a bit of an increase, quite a bit of capacity increase, getting prepared for the continued growth that's been coming to Denham Springs. Now we're getting into your coronavirus statistics. 40,746 cases in Louisiana, 2,724 deaths, 31,728 recoveries, 393,000 tests, so that continues to ramp up. 639 are hospitalized on 83 ventilators. There are currently 440 cases in Livingston Parish, 30 deaths on 6,450 tests. Now, getting into those mitigation efforts real quick. Wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds or more. Disinfect common surfaces at home and at the office. Wear a mask in public if at all possible. Control your cough with an elbow or a tissue. Don't touch your face. 6 feet or more of distance between yourself and others. 10 or less to a gathering, preferably less. And stay home if you are sick and utilize telehealth to get to your doctor or if at all possible, stay home to work, trying to reduce those numbers at work. Want to talk a little bit about the main ones that are being brought up, especially by the Louisiana Department of Health and the governor, are washing your hands with soap and water, wearing that mask in public, controlling that cough, and staying home if you're sick. The big thing about staying home if you're sick is that you keep that sickness at home, because we don't want to spread the flu or anything that might be transmittable. Trying to keep that at home, trying to keep people well as we kind of work through still dealing with the spread of the novel coronavirus. It has not disappeared, as a lot of people like to sort of joke about, oh, well, we're all into this. Well, no, it's still here. It's still spreading. And we will be talking later this week about summertime and how that affects COVID-19, or really the spread of the coronavirus. Got to remember, the virus itself is called the coronavirus. The disease that it causes is called COVID-19. It's an important distinction. We are moving into phase 2, as the governor announced on Monday. That will be a 3-week period. And of course, that last week will be sort of an analysis period. Of course, right now we are in the 3rd week of phase 1. So that's how the timeline is going to work. They're going to make an announcement, sign a proclamation later in the week. It'll start on Friday, and it'll be a 3-week timeline from there. That way you get a 2-week sort of data point before you make a decision to go to the next phase. Of course, roughly 10 to 14 days is the incubation period for the coronavirus. Of course, a couple of things that the governor mentioned that you're looking at is a spike in cases, spikes in deaths, and spikes of people presenting to the hospital with COVID-like symptoms. Now, one of the things that might mean, we're not entirely sure yet, is that they're not, there's probably some tests that may come back negative that may end up being positive. So you have to take a look at the number of folks that are presenting at the hospital as well with these symptoms. So that's one thing that's going to go into moving in from phase 2 to phase 3, which would be late June, about June 26th, I believe is the date, when we would move forward. Now, of course, that announcement would come that Monday. The governor will be updating the state at 2:30 today. Hopefully a better transition between phase 1 between phase 1 and phase 2. There it is. Sorry about that. Let me start over. Hopefully a better transition between phase 1 and phase 2. There was a lot of complaints regarding the transition from phase 0 to phase 1. So a lot of people are hoping the governor will distribute some more information. Of course, those businesses which were opened during phase 1 will be increased capacity to 50%. And then if you're looking at those businesses which will now be open, which weren't during phase 1, which includes bars, tattoo parlors, arenas, swimming pools, bowling alleys, those kinds of things, they will be increased to 25% capacity and will be allowed to reopen. Now, of course, Dr. Alex Bu from Louisiana Department of Health said that restaurant owners and restaurateurs and bar owners can get creative about their seating, still trying to keep that 6 feet of distance, but especially in restaurants where we're going up to 50% capacity. Dr. Bu said, this a lot of times this is, you could die just walking outside your house. So you have to be careful. It's best to mitigate things as best you can. Remember those mitigation efforts. We will go back over them one more time. The Arts Council of Livingston Parish, which is right over here on Hummel, not too far from our office, donated 750 masks to first responders. So they ran a collection for several weeks. And I know that the City of Denham Springs Fire Department and Police Department appreciate that donation. The Department of Child and Family Services is begging for workers to come back to daycare centers and child care centers so that people can go back to work. Right now, there's a large contingent of people, especially single parents, or parents that are both, or one's essential and one's not, but one's trying to go back to work that is non-essential or has not been essential during that time. But they're stuck at home because they have to take care of their children and they don't have other child care access. So the Department of Child and Family Services is looking for the legislation to pass some things, trying to get child care centers open so that people can send those kids there for the day, trying to get back into work. There are some rules and guidelines for child care centers and summer camps and things like that. Unfortunately, some of them have either had trouble getting people to come back to work, or it's not quite worth it for them to open with those guidelines in place. So it's kind of an interesting conundrum. The chair of the Department of Child and Family Services, petitioned to the legislature on Monday, trying to get them to roll out some legislation that would help ease some of those restrictions on childcare. We'll see how that goes. Let's get back into your mitigation real quick. Wash your hands for 20 seconds or more with soap and water. Disinfect common surfaces at home and at the office. Wear a mask if at all possible. Control your cough with an elbow or a tissue. Don't touch your face. 6 feet or more of distance between yourself and others. 10 or less to a gathering. Stay home if you are sick. And utilize telehealth to get in touch with your doctor. And stay home to work if at all possible. Currently 40,746 cases of the coronavirus in Louisiana. 2,724 deaths. 31,728 recoveries. 393,000 tests have been administered. 639 are currently hospitalized with COVID-19. 83 are on ventilators. In Livingston Parish, you have 440 cases of COVID-19, 30 deaths, and 6,450 tests. Getting back into that traffic real quick, you are looking at heavier delays at 4-H Club Road, River Road, and 190, hoping that those will dissipate soon. Not too bad, still flowing, it's just starting to back up a little bit. Dunn and Lockhart, of course, there's some construction going on there. Please be mindful of that. There are some delays there. There's also delays on Buddy Ellis Road. That construction and overlay and widening and all that good, great stuff has finally started. Minor delays on 64 heading into Central. On-ramp delays getting on I-12, but I-12 is flowing. It's currently 76 degrees. 87 degrees is your high. 70 degrees your overnight low. There's a 40% chance of rain after 1 p.m. That bumps up to 60% about 4 or 5 p.m. So please remember to bring an umbrella or a poncho if you're heading to work this morning. Want to remind folks, Tropical Depression Cristobal is real. It has formed. Going to start feeling those effects Sunday from that weather, winds and rain and that kind of thing. Right now, the cone of uncertainty has it somewhere between West Mississippi and East Texas, which of course includes all of Louisiana. We'll get more of an idea as days goes on what the path is going to be. But the governor wants to remind folks, please get a game plan, especially during COVID-19, because disaster response is a little different. Talk with your neighbors, talk with your family, decide how you want to handle things, and move on from there. One last time, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us for the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. Want to remind folks that we are on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays. That's $7 a month. We're also online. We've mentioned that before. We have an app to go with that. Want to again thank you guys for your patience. We will have that piece of equipment in next week, so we are going to update the format. We're going to be trying to do more live, where I'll be interactive with the folks who want to comment and talk on the show. So, hope you guys have a great day. Please try to stay dry this afternoon, and we will come back at you tomorrow morning.